Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the whole Call of Duty and Nickmercs situation that's been unfolding over the last few days. This has become a pretty massive controversy in the Call of Duty and realistically the gaming community at large. Over on Twitter right now, Call of Duty is actually trending because of this entire Nickmercs situation, and it seems like everybody's weighing in, giving their opinions on this thing, because in reality, this is just an example of a larger culture battle that's kind of been getting fought over especially the last few months here in the United States. Now, this is a very controversial subject, but there's been a lot of debate about whether or not LGBTQ plus issues, history, things of that sort should be taught in schools, and whether or not like Pride Month should be celebrated in schools. There's been, a lot of situations in schools across the country where I guess like rainbow pride flags have been getting hung up and parents have been freaking out and getting upset because they believe that their school is basically indoctrinating their children. They believe that by essentially quote unquote pushing these LGBTQ plus issues and these transgender issues and these pride issues and whatnot onto children, that they're essentially quote unquote indoctrinating them at an early age. Now, on the other hand, you have a lot of people who believe that, Pride Month and, LGBT issues and whatnot should be taught in schools because it's a vital part of society. A lot of people identify as LGBTQ plus. There's a lot of history in the gay rights movements and whatnot that are pretty honestly interesting and involve American history at large, right? So it's a debate that's been going on for a while, right? And especially, it's divided along political lines. For instance, a lot of people on the left are very supportive of having these issues taught in school, and they believe that Pride Month should be celebrated in schools and whatnot. And more or less, a lot of people on the right are among the beliefs that these things should not be taught in schools, that it's essentially indoctrination, and that they believe this is an issue that should be taught by parents at home. Now, apparently recently a situation in California boiled over at a school where parents essentially got into like this big fight, or as a lot of people have described it, more or less the people who were against like Pride Month celebrations and LGBTQ stuff in schools, a few of them assaulted some people who were, supportive of these issues outside of a school. Basically, a big brawl ensued at a California school district meeting over the issue, and it went viral, of course, like the situation's been in the news and whatnot. And realistically, it just goes to highlight like how divisive of an issue this really is, like just how explosive it can be. I mean, people are very passionate about this issue on both sides, and I get that. But with that being said, Nickmercs responded to a tweet a few days ago about this issue and said, "They should leave little children alone. That's the real issue." So basically, Nickmercs was just saying that he believes that these issues shouldn't be taught to young children. This is honestly not that like rare of a take, if I'm being honest with you. Like, there's a lot of people who believe this, you know what I mean? This is not some fringe belief or anything that like nobody thinks. A pretty good portion of people think that this is something that seriously shouldn't be taught to young children. Like, they believe that at a young age they don't really understand the conversation enough to have that conversation, and as parents they would rather wait until they believe their kid's ready for them to sit them down and talk about it. They don't want a public school telling their child about these issues because they want to be the ones to have that conversation. They want to be the ones to introduce that topic and explain it to their child. Now, I'm just gonna come right out and say before we get any further into this video, I am personally of the belief that people are allowed to have differing opinions. Now, personally, I believe that yes, these issues they can be taught in school. However, I believe they should be voluntary classes that parents sign off on. I believe that parents should have the right to dictate what their children learn. I mean, we already have this set up for other issues in school. For instance, I remember when we first started like our first real sex ed class in like 8th grade, they told us like weeks in advance, like if you don't feel comfortable like having the, class or whatever, you don't have to participate. If your parents object to you being in it, they can sign a note or whatever and send it with you, and you don't have to participate in the sex ed class. Also, at the same time, I remember that in high school, in certain parts of health class, they essentially did the same thing. I remember in social studies class, we watched a couple movies that were deemed like controversial or whatever, and parents had to sign off on whether or not you could watch it. And even when it comes to like evolution being taught in science class, there's a lot of religious people especially who believe that evolution is wrong, and they believe in the creation theory, and they have a right to not have their child participate in those conversations. It's not like this is something that isn't done in school. There's plenty of issues where parents are the ones who get to decide these things, and honestly, I believe this is one of those things too. Personally, I would never object to my children learning these issues. If I had kids in school and they came home and were like, hey dad, we're gonna learn about LGBTQ plus issues or whatever at school, we're gonna, do something about that. Am I allowed to participate in it? If I felt that my kid was ready to learn about something like that and was mature enough to handle that conversation, I would absolutely sign off on it, because I, as a person, believe that if my child is ready to have that discussion, they should have that discussion. However, I also don't believe that my personal beliefs should have to be dictated onto everybody else. Parents should have a say in what their kids learn, and the real truth of the matter is, when it comes to public schools, who are the people who are funding these public schools? Who are the ones paying these teachers' salaries? It's literally these people. It's the parents. It's the taxpayers. They should have a right to have the discussion on what is and what isn't acceptable for their kids to learn. They contribute to the funding of the school. They're the ones who had the children. I believe that parents should be allowed to make that decision. Now, whether they agree with me on the issue or not, that's up for them to decide. That's the great thing about living in a place like the fucking United States, right? You're allowed to have different opinions. Not everybody has to believe the same exact thing. And realistically, when it comes to making these issues something that people are willing to accept and willing to have their kids learn about, I really just don't think forcing it down people's throats and like trying to force people and their children to learn these ideologies, I don't think that's the way to get people on board. I don't think that's the way to gain acceptance in communities and get people to actually, hear you out even. That's not how conversations work. And I know that's not what the internet wants to hear. I know that's not what people want to hear, but that's just the reality of the situation. You don't make people agree with you by pissing them off and insulting them and making them feel like they don't get a right to make decisions, right? Now, anyway, let's advance, right? So this whole situation, it was minorly controversial, if we're being honest. Like, I saw a couple tweets about it, and honestly, Nickmercs came out and addressed everything pretty quickly with the following clip.
Simply feel that I want to be the one and my wife wants to be the one to speak with our child about stuff like that. And that was the tweet. That was the tweet. You can take the tweet if you want, and you can spin it, flip it, flop it, quote tweet it. You can put 10 paragraphs on top of it. You can do whatever you want to it to make you feel better if that's what you want to do. But that was the tweet, okay? So if you came here to hear that, I hope you feel a little better about it. I didn't mean to upset anybody. I know that I did. I'm not apologizing about the tweet because I don't feel like it's wrong. I'm going to stand by what I said. I'm not going to delete the tweet. I just want to make sure everybody understands exactly the point I was trying to make by tweeting my response. And I do want to apologize to Puckett though. I feel like I might have brought a little bit of shit his way, man. I didn't mean to do that, but.
Now, essentially, Nickmercs is clearing the air a little bit, right? Now, he doesn't outright apologize, and I know that's not what everybody who was mad about this wanted, because they're so used to everybody just cowering and being afraid to say what they want to say and just go, well, I'm sorry for everybody I offended. I can't believe I would say that. I'm gonna commit to being a better person now. But I feel like some people are starting to realize that when all you do is just apologize to these people, they keep pushing, right? These people who are perpetually mad about shit online, when you address these kinds of things with like outright apologies, it just makes them see blood in the water. That they push the issue even further. They find other things to nitpick. We've seen it time and time again. But he does clarify that he doesn't have a problem with like the LGBTQ plus community. He doesn't think they're fucking horrible people or that they should be like shunned in society. He just thinks that he should be the one as a parent to have that conversation with his child. That isn't even inherently like anti-LGBTQ plus. That just means he wants to be the one to have that discussion with his children. But a few people bitched and moaned about it, a very vocal minority minority of people online. I didn't really see, I mean, you know, it wasn't like he was trending and like every sponsor dropped him or anything, right? It was just like some people were upset about it, some people weren't. It would have been an over and done deal in like 2 days. Everyone would have found something else to be mad at, and Nickmercs would have kept doing whatever he's doing. But you might remember that here recently, he had a collaboration with Activision Blizzard / Call of Duty, and he actually is featured in a skin bundle in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 recently. Oh, well, actually, I should say recently he was in a bundle because Activision Blizzard just like silently pulled his skin off of the market and everything, started deleting any references on their website to the Nickmercs bundle, and for a few hours they were pretty silent on everything. The whole community already kind of knew what was going on. They're like, ah, yeah, he's getting his skin pulled because of the recent comments that he made or whatever. Everyone kind of already knew, right? But there was no official confirmation. That is until there was a tweet that came out from the folks at COD that says, due to recent events, we have removed the Nickmercs operator bundle from the Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone store. We are focused on celebrating pride with our employees and our community. Apparently, they're so focused on celebrating pride with their employees and community that they allowed for an exploit across several Call of Duty games to be injected where people could obtain other players' IP addresses, force close their game clients, and much more. This happened for weeks. Call of Duty did not acknowledge it in the slightest until recently they put out a little offhanded tweet kind of addressing the issue, right? There's not even an official fix from my knowledge yet, but within like hours of this whole Nickmercs situation, they immediately snapped their fingers and had this shit done. Modern Warfare 2 has been a steaming pile of shit for months now, and the content that they've been releasing is mediocre at best. But at least they're focused on celebrating pride with their employees and their community. Keep in mind, this is the same company, Activision Blizzard, that is so focused on equality and like everyone being the same and celebrating everybody regardless that, you know, they had a pretty big lawsuit recently in which one of the points of contention, I guess, against them was their quote-unquote frat boy culture where they would do quote-unquote cube crawls. This is when male employees would get fucking drunk, go into female employees' cubicles, grope them, sexually harass them, and subject them to disgusting talk. In fact, the sexual harassment culture at Activision was so horrible that a woman's nudes leaked in the office and she ended up committing suicide on a trip with an intern who had brought butt plugs and lube. Yeah, that's the company who's got the right morals, you know what I mean? This is the company that I really champion as social progressive folks. When it comes to equality, when it comes to integrity, when it comes to everybody being the same, when it comes to everybody's opinion mattering, Activision Blizzard has championed these beliefs for the last, 7 months? This is the most performative shit they could have possibly done. Now, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, they have the right to remove Nickmercs' bundle and whatnot. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. But then these are the same people who are now like stunned / mad that the entire community is giving them backlash for removing the bundle. It's funny how that works. The freedom of speech doesn't equal freedom of consequences only matters when it's on their side of the issue, right? When it's these people online getting people pissed off, right? When it's their turn to say that, oh, it's all about it. But hey, when the community backlashes against a decision like this and suddenly their consequences for the company equals a boycott from players that's apparently brewing now, all of a sudden, what the fuck? Oh, yo, what's going on now? So, I don't know, it's pretty funny, right? Call of Duty wanted to step out and pretend that, you know, they were some sort of like big championing activists, right? Oh, we would never let somebody we work with say something about Pride Month, right? But at the same time, it seems like they forgot. I don't know if they realize this. Call of Duty has one of the most non-progressive communities in the entire gaming scene, right? Like, Call of Duty game chat is synonymous with, like, racial and sexual abuse. And they've done, realistically, nothing to address any of that, even though they've been all about how, oh, we don't tolerate any toxicity or racism anymore. They haven't done a fucking thing about that. But on Twitter, you know, they're the performatists, right? They're the big guys, right? They got the right morals. They got the right opinion here, folks. Don't think they would ever work with somebody like Nickmercs, who committed the horrific crime of believing that parents should be the ones to discuss these issues with children. I don't know, man. I don't even necessarily agree with Nickmercs' take. I just don't believe that he should have had his collaboration skin canceled for having what I guess most people online would deem as the wrong fucking opinion. That is a stupid precedent to set. That is a ridiculous overreaction for what I can only really describe as barely a controversy. I mean, like I said, it's not like everyone disagrees with Nickmercs or something. He didn't say something outrageous in all reality. He just doesn't believe that school children should be worrying about shit like this. And that's his opinion. He's allowed to have it. That's the great thing, like I said, about being here. You get to have that opinion if you want to. And this idea that everybody has to think the exact same and will think the exact same is just detrimental to the movement in itself. Like, you're not just going to immediately overnight have all these parents' worries just completely wash away, you know, just no problems. You have to actually prove to them that this isn't what's going on, and you have to actually work to create bridges with the gaps in these people, right? But of course, no, it's not how anyone wants to do anything anymore. Everybody just wants to scream over one another and perform for people on the internet. It's fucking ridiculous. So, common Call of Duty L, I mean, let's be real here. Hopefully they realize that all of the people who've been cheating in their fucking video games for the last couple years now, ruining the online experiences, maybe they'll say something controversial and they'll all get fucked with. Because it's apparent that Call of Duty will only actually do anything or show any action when they believe that it makes them look like bad guys, right? So, I don't know, man. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, not believing that Nickmercs should have got what happened to him, and signing out.